Today I want to do a little bit of a different video and tell you why you should not build faceless YouTube channels, but why you should instead build niche media. Well, that definitely created a little dent there, but it's fine. So we'll talk about why it's literally retarded to build faceless channels and, try to build like a massive network of I'm going to have so many faceless channels and then I'm going to make millions of revenue. It really doesn't make any sense, and there's a much better way that I needed to experience and learn about through super hard and ugly mistakes. So first of all, why the hell do I talk about this? Well, I went super deep into this topic, right? I gave even talks like this one where I was talking about building a YouTube empire. I am friends with like all of the guys from the industry, so I'm talking to guys like Noah regularly. We're friends. We'll talk about developments. We were even in some niches together, which like no homo, right? It sounds funny, but we were in some niches together. And I have many successful channels myself. Let me see. So here you have a couple of them, but actually here we still have this one. Of course, we have the Megalomedia channel, and we have a bunch of other channels. We also sold some channels. So here is an article or an interview I gave recently to this really nice Creator Spotlight podcast. I think one of the best podcasts in the creator economy industry. So, I've been around, I've tried a lot, I built a lot of successful channels, and I can tell you it is literally retarded. Okay? And there's a couple of reasons why this is retarded and why you should actually build something like slightly different. You will still build on YouTube and you will still make a lot of money. It will just be much more purposeful. So first of all, to scale beyond 100,000 per month is extremely difficult on YouTube if you want to do it with the typical faceless channel philosophy, right? Because let's recap. The typical faceless philosophy is you spot some trends, like let's say Diddy, or some political back and forth with Trump, or some other niches, maybe some AI, ASMR or whatever. You go into that niche with extremely low production value content. So it typically costs you, $20, $50, $100 to create a video, sometimes lower, sometimes more, but like in general, it's going to be quite cheap, right? Not like some of the videos, some of the productions we do is like $50,000 for one, 30-minute, 60-minute episode or whatever. So obviously this is much cheaper, and then you flood the niche. At some point, the algorithm catches you and it's like, wow, people like this. And then you just like publish every day, multiple times. You scale the channel up to tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of revenue. We were doing, we were in this conservative politics niche in Europe, when there was a lot of this immigration crisis stuff happening. And we were in there with a bunch of channels, made tens of thousands with each channel. So sometimes you go into the niche with multiple channels, you saturate it, right? At some point, what happens always, or most of the times, is a lot of competitors come in there too, because it's super easy to get in there. If a video costs just $10 to produce, guess what? Everybody can produce it, right? So everybody gets into this niche. And at some point it's saturated, it dies off, you make like 1K of revenue per month, and at some point it becomes unsustainable to keep the channel going. And so what you do is you jump onto the next trend, right? You're like, okay, now let me switch from conservative politics to Diddy, or some other bullshit, and you make money like that. Of course, some people will tell you, yeah, we build like sustainable faceless channels, but let me ask you a question. Where are all the gurus' channels? Okay, I know most of the gurus in this faceless space, and I can count on one hand the amount, like the channels that they have published, the channels that they talk publicly about. And little disclaimer, we'll get to that later, it is because they make money with coaching, or sometimes with SaaS products. That's not bad per se. It's only bad if you tell people, yeah, I make all my money with faceless channels, but then actually you make it with freaking coaching, right? So that's the problem here. Now, long story short, right? If you look at the landscape, like, who the fuck has great faceless channels from these gurus? Almost no one. And the reason is they start these channels and they run them up. They take some nice screenshots because they do make a couple of 10K per month. But then guess what? The channel just dies, and it's not really cool to like show that as a case study, right? Then you have massive complexity of ops. So like, I have been running lots of businesses, and I was an investor in businesses in China. And so trust me when I tell you I have experience looking at different business models, And the complexity of running a YouTube channel is not to be underestimated, right? You have someone that needs to set the traffic, the content direction, And it's not enough to one time say, okay, we're going to go this direction. No, you need someone for every single video to say, okay, this is going to be title, this is going to be thumbnail. Then, of course, you need to create the thumbnail. Yeah, you can do it with AI, but still someone needs to manage it. You then need to write the script. Again, you can do it with AI, but you're going to need someone who can distinguish between a shit AI script and a good AI script. Then you need to edit it. Same thing as with scripting. And you have a bunch of other things, miscellaneous tasks that you just have when running a YouTube channel. So there you have, with like a channel, already 3 or 4 positions that need to be filled with different people or freelancers. And the truth is, that's just a lot of complexity operations-wise. There's other business models, and we'll get to that later, where you can make much more money, and you just need one person. And this person doesn't really need to be intelligent, where like there's a big hiring war on Twitter going on. It's super hard to hire great people for your YouTube channel, so the complexity of the operations is not to be underestimated. And then next point, the portfolio distribution theory. Okay, let me just explain that with a simple drawing, okay? Because otherwise you guys might not get it as easily, okay? So basically, in any portfolio, and I know this from venture capital, from investing in companies, okay? In any portfolio, you're going to have winners, you're going to have losers, and you're going to have the ones that do just okay. So, what you essentially will have is a strata from top to bottom, where, let's say here you have the top, and here you have the bottom, and you will now have you will now have a portfolio distribution where, let's say you have 10 channels, okay? And in these 10 channels, what typically you will have is a very typical, you could say, private equity portfolio distribution. So you will have, let's say, around 3 or 4. What the fuck is wrong with this pen? 3 or 4 that are in the bottom. You will have, let's call it 4 or 5 that are here. And then accordingly, you will have 3, 2, 1 that are in the top. So essentially what you have is 3 to 4 channels that will not really get any traction, that will not really make money. Maybe they are barely break even. Then you have 4 to 5 channels that are making some money, let's say 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K per month. And then you have 3 to 1 channels, so that it adds up to 10, that are going to have a lot of potential. And now any investor will tell you, do not focus on these and do not focus on these. Because basically, if the business is not running well or is just running okay, what happens is you will maybe turn it, let's say you focus all your energy on these ones, on these channels. You focus all your energy here. You will turn them from channels that make 2K per month to channels that make 4K per month, right? So yeah, you doubled them. Great job. But you just made 2K more, right? Whereas if you focus on these bad boys here, these top performing channels, then what you can do is you can take them from channels that make 10K per month, that make 15K per month, to channels that make 30, 40, 50, 60K per month, right? So you also just double the size, but doubling the size means making 15K more revenue. Okay, so that's why you have this typical portfolio distribution theory, which also holds true for YouTube channels and makes it incredibly retarded to build, I'm just going to build this big network of channels, and then every channel is going to make 5K, and I'm going to live a happy life on a yacht and just watch like freaking Minecraft videos all day. No, it doesn't work like this because of portfolio theory. You're extremely stupid if you're focusing all your power on all your portfolio. You should just focus it on the top part of the portfolio. So what do you do? Okay, the best way to get to 100,000 per month or a 30 million plus net worth. So we're going to talk about both things, right? The best way to get to 30 million plus or 100K per month is literally just 2 things: agency and info, or niche media empires. And I guess many of you are going to be happy about this because these 2 things are super related. You can actually start building this today instead of building faceless YouTube channels that will barely afford you a McDonald's Happy Meal in the coming months. So what does this mean? Agency or info? It is much easier. And I did the same thing, right? I did all of this. I was building faceless channels, and that's why I'm in touch with all of these guys. I was, talking back and forth with them. I was building the channels. I was interviewed because of this, and then I noticed it is retarded because it is much simpler to build a solid info product or agency service and sell it for 3K, 5K, 8K per month to another company than to build a YouTube channel and run it up to 5K per month. It's much easier. And for us, I literally noticed, for me, it's much easier to build a YouTube channel for another company and tell them, look, I'll help you guys get onto YouTube, because YouTube is probably one of the biggest, most powerful sales channels for companies and most overlooked, than to build a YouTube channel myself that needs to become super big, needs to get hundreds of thousands and millions of views in order for me to make money through AdSense. I can build a channel, charge 5K from a customer, from a company client, and they are going to make 15, 20, 30K with this per month because they are selling some kind of high ticket product through the channel. And it's literally much faster, okay? So that was my realization. Now you might disagree or whatever, I don't really care, but this is my realization after doing all of this faceless YouTube stuff. And it doesn't matter if it's YouTube automation or it's typical YouTube faceless or it's some other part of the game you're playing. Now, the second thing, and this is if you say, no, I don't want to sell info or agency, I want to build YouTube channels because I want to build a media empire of some sort. I like the idea of building reach. I like the idea of making money because people watch my content. Listen up. The way to do it is through niche media empires. What are niche media empires? Niche media empires for dummies, okay? Facts. If you're in the YouTube space or you know anything about YouTube, you know that YouTube views are probably the stickiest followers that you can have. It's much stronger than shorts views. It's much stronger than people that listen to an audio-only podcast. It's much stronger than people who read your blog or whatever. If someone watches your video for 10, 20, 30 minutes, this is the strongest connection you can have with some, apart from maybe meeting them in person, But this is stronger than anything else, text-based, shorts, whatever. So, what do we do with this? Many people don't realize that, but you can leverage this by turning these YouTube views into lower level engagement followers or engagement views and so on. So for example, if you have a great YouTube channel, you turn this YouTube channel into a newsletter. It's extremely easy to funnel your followers into a newsletter. Then you can tell them, look, take a look at my shorts channels. Then you can tell them, take a look at our editorial website where we post cool blogs and articles and whatever the hell, right? So it's very easy to funnel people from your YouTube videos to other channels, to other social media platforms. It's much harder to do that the other way around. Like if you just have a big following on LinkedIn and you ask people, hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch my 20-minute long videos, guess what? You're going to have 10 followers or so, right? But the other way around works much better. Same with Twitter, same with anything else really, okay? So it's very easy for you to funnel these YouTube views into adjacent social media platforms. And this way, what you're doing is you're already building a small niche media company. So you start somewhere with your YouTube channel and now you start adding on these satellites, right? You don't just have your YouTube channel, you now have your newsletter satellite and your TikTok Shorts satellite, and your blog satellite and so on. And now the main, or let's say the best way to play it is to introduce a monetization layer. So to layer something on top, to turn this from a media company into a proper company that's scalable. Because up until this point, if you turn YouTube views to newsletter, to shorts, to editorial website, and so on, you're essentially building a media company. And maybe you want to do that. Like I have friends who built this, and now they have like a nice website with articles and like 5 or 6 journalists that do nothing else than write like blog posts and articles. They have a podcast, they have a YouTube channel, they have shorts and so on. It's basically a media company. The way they monetize is through sponsorships and through events and maybe a little bit of merch, right? But then the king discipline, the alpha, the top tier, S tier monetization is of course to have some kind of company, product or service in the back end attached to that. So, whatever, you now have like some agency service that you're selling on the back end of this. And now suddenly this whole thing is much more than just a small YouTube channel. And here is the main reason why this works so well, okay? Because the valuation multiple increases, okay? If an investor, so here, for example, we had this, we showed this to a bunch of investors, one of our channels, that where we had some interest from people to buy this channel. And the way we talked about this story and what became super clear in the sales process is that the valuation multiple increases when you diversify, because people don't want to just buy a YouTube channel. Look, what if the YouTube channel suddenly breaks and nobody cares about your YouTube videos anymore, right? Then basically the investor is screwed. So what you will get as an EBITDA multiple, EBITDA TTM multiple, so last 12 months, trailing 12 months of your EBITDA multiple will be like 3, 4, let's say 5, but that's at the high end. If you build a media company where the investor doesn't just buy the YouTube channel, but he also buys a newsletter, and he has some shorts on TikTok and Instagram, and he has a cool website that thousands of people visit every month, guess what? He or she is going to be willing to pay much more for this, because they know, okay, even if the YouTube channel breaks, well, it would be shit, but I still have all of these other channels working for me, right? And I can sell bundle deals. This is something no freaking YouTube guru out there is going to tell you, because they probably don't have any clue about this, but you can sell bundle deals to sponsors. Now, suddenly, you don't just approach a sponsor and say, like Masterworks, do you want to put your ads on my YouTube channel? But you can tell them, look, we have a newsletter too. We're going to give you a little bit of a discount if you put some ads onto our newsletter. And also we have a website. And also we have this print magazine, right? Which we release every 3 quarters or whatever. So basically, it gives you much more upsides in terms of monetization. And the last point I want to make is investors just get it, okay? Like, investors are used to buying bigger constructs, not just YouTube channels. The idea of selling YouTube channels is much more recent than the idea of buying and selling media companies, right? Media companies have been sold forever. So for an investor to buy a niche media company, it's much more comfortable in their brain than to buy just a YouTube channel. They don't get it, okay? Now, what is the best thing? Literally the best thing is to combine the best of both worlds. And we do that at Channelcraft and Apollo Studios. So let me show you what we do. Channelcraft is the agency that I talked about, right? So basically, we built a YouTube channel for business owners, and we charge them between 3 to 8K per month, depending on the complexity, depending on their needs, and so on. And for this money that they pay every month, they get all of these things, right? Like scripting, ideation, editing, and so on. They don't need to do anything. We do everything in terms of building their YouTube channel, and it works extremely well. It books them a lot of calls or whatever they want. Sometimes they want downloads of their lead magnets or whatever. So what we have here is we have our cash flow engine. This brings us cash flow every month because we sell this service to business owners who are ready to pay us 3 to 8K per month, right? Now, with this, we're not really building any media empire because these channels, we don't own them. So what we do is combine this with this, you could call it niche media empire strategy, but on a big scale. And we started with this in Germany, where now we have customers like, for example, we're working with The Pioneer, we're working with Funk HR. So these are literally TV channels. And what we do for them is we build YouTube channels, we build video formats that can be streamed on, let's say, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and so on. And here comes the deal. We don't just build a channel for them or build a format for them and then we leave. But what we do is sometimes, if we see the opportunity, we take ownership of these assets. So what we'll do is, for example, we retain the IP rights in what we're building. Okay, so we can later, like build a series or a documentary for a channel, but we still own the IP. And so this helps us build this media empire where with the months and with the years, we have more and more assets that are working for us, right? Or we build a YouTube channel together with, let's say, a, investment company. And this investment company says, yeah, you guys own the YouTube channel. We just sponsor it. So we sign like a 1-year sponsoring agreement, and you guys need to kind of do advertisement for our investing service every video, right? Which also helps us retain ownership in this asset. It's ours, but we have a massive sponsor in the background who pays us tens of thousands every month for this channel, and we can build it out to this nice niche media empire that I just talked about earlier in the video. So that's, I think, the best strategy, but obviously I'm biased, you know. I think that works extremely well. In short, I think you should not build a faceless kind of channel empire, you know, and your goal shouldn't be to just scale 10, 20 faceless channels. It's much easier, much simpler to build agency or info products for cash flow. Or if you want to go the media route, then at least build niche media empires. Try a couple of channels and then double down on the one that actually works. Turn it into a niche media empire. And why am I saying 30 million net worth? Because it's super realistic to sell a niche media empire like this for a sum of 20, 30, 40 million. Those are super normal valuations for small media companies nowadays. But those are crazy valuations for YouTube channels nowadays, okay? There's not a lot of YouTube channels that are worth this money apart from, you know, the super big ones, Mr. Beast and whatever. And it's like, let's be honest, it's super hard to build those, right? So that's how I would get to 100K or 30 million plus net worth. Bye.